I had a student question about tidal volume, and I want to explain that. And first, I want to put this into context, the question, what it's about. So, in the respiratory system unit, I would say that we're talking about five major topics. The first major topic is just the anatomy of the respiratory tract from the nose down into the lungs, which you can see I would finish that on page 4, right where I drew the line. The second major topic that we're talking about is breathing. Okay, and tidal volume is contained within this information. So what I am doing here is um, talking about the dynamics, the mechanical dynamics of breathing, the pressures involved in breathing, how those change, inspiration, expiration, by detail, looking at it in a graph, other factors that affect ventilation. And this is where the tidal volume comes in. What all it is a measurement. Okay, so we can hook somebody up to a machine called a spirometer, and we can measure the amount of air coming in and leaving. So the tidal volume is just one of those volumes that we can measure with a spirometer. So with a spirometer, you can actually measure these three volumes. You can measure what you usually inhale, which is equal to what you usually exhale. That's called the tidal volume. And then you could also measure what you can inhale in addition to what you usually do, and exhale in addition to what you usually do. And so these three things that are within, our conscious control can be measured on the spirometer. And actually, if you add up these three things, if we sum these three, that gives you what's called the vital capacity. And the vital capacity would be the amount of air that you're in control of. So let me show you this in a graph. So taking a look at this graph, you can see they're just looking at the amount of air measured in milliliters on the y-axis, and time is going by on the x-axis. So the person breathes in, and they're breathing in 500 mils of air. I'd call that the tidal volume. And then we exhale the same amount that we inhale. That's the tidal volume. So tidal volume comes in, tidal volume leaves. Here they ask the person to exhale everything you can, which means that they're first going to have to exhale the tidal volume, and then they exhale this additional volume of air. That additional volume is what's called the ERV, or the expiratory reserve volume. And then we can do that with inhalation too. So if we ask the person to inhale everything that they possibly can, they'd have to inhale the tidal volume, and our reserve volumes do not include the tidal volume. And then they'd inhale all this extra air, which is the IRV, the inspiratory reserve volume. And then what they're doing here is they're saying to the person, exhale everything that you can. So they exhale the IRV and the TV and the ERV. And like I said, the sum of those three things is what's known as the vital capacity. That's what the person is in charge of, in conscious control of moving in and out of their lungs. So as you know, once we exhale everything that we can, we still have air in the lungs. We're not able to exhale all the air that's there. That's what's called the residual volume. And so to go back to the notes real quick, what I do in the notes is I define the volumes that can be measured on the spirometer. We can't measure the residual volume. That would be a calculation, which is not done in this course. And then the capacities would be, an equation. So if you hear the capacity, like vital capacity, you can see that's the IRV plus the TV plus the ERV, like I was saying. Or if we take the vital capacity and add it to the residual volume, that's your total lung capacity, what we're in charge of and what we're not in charge of. And so to wrap this up, to take a quick look at our video playlist in the Unit 4 folder, I just want to show you that. If you want to review this more, this is a video that shows spirometry being done. And I would also recommend this IP2 video, lung volumes and capacities, and I think it will help out a lot. Thanks.